The screen door slammed like a gunshot in the sticky July heat of rural Ohio. And Layla's mother's voice sliced through the air. "Get out of my house. You filthy sinner. Don't you dare come back until you've fixed whatever demons got hold of you." Layla's knees buckled on the splintered porch steps, her backpack thudding to the gravel as sobs ripped from her chest. Raw and animal. And then, from the old farmhouse window, a frail hand beckoned, Grandma Eleanor's, steady as the Ohio River, whispering, "Come here, child. I've got room for all of you, just as you are." Layla Harper had always known she was different, like a wildflower pushing through concrete cracks in the endless cornfields outside Millersburg. At 25, with her tight curls often twisted into a hasty bun and hazel eyes that caught the light like polished amber, she carried herself with the quiet fire of someone who'd learned to dodge lightning storms. Growing up in that big, creaky Victorian house on Elm Street, handed down through generations of Harpers who prided themselves on good Christian values, Layla had played pretend with her dolls, lining them up in secret weddings under the quilt fort, the brides always facing each other. But secrets have a way of unraveling, especially when you're the only daughter in a family of Bible thumpers who quote Leviticus like it's the weather report. It started unraveling 2 weeks before that porchside explosion. Layla had finally mustered the courage during Sunday supper, the air thick with pot roast and unspoken judgments. Her father, Harlan, a burly mechanic with grease-stained knuckles and a perpetual scowl, had been ranting about the gays ruining everything after church that morning. Her brother, Jake, 28 and already on his third failed marriage, chuckled along like it was all a joke. And her mother, Ruth sharp-featured, with lips perpetually pursed in prayer, had nodded, her fork stabbing at her peas like they were sinners themselves. "I can't do this anymore," Layla had blurted, her voice barely above the clink of silverware. The room went still, forks hovering. She swallowed hard, her heart hammering like a freight train. I'm gay. I've known for years. And I love a woman. Her name's Sophia." The silence stretched, then shattered. Harlan's chair scraped back first, his face purpling like overripe tomatoes. "What the hell did you just say?" he bellowed, slamming his fist on the oak table hard enough to rattle the mason jars of sweet tea. Ruth gasped, crossing herself as if Layla had summoned the devil right there in the dining room. Jake just stared, his mouth half open with a piece of bread forgotten. "You're lying," Ruth hissed, her eyes narrowing to slits. "This is some phase. Some college nonsense from that art school in Cleveland. We'll pray it out of you. Layla Grace Harper. We'll cast it out like the poison it is." But it wasn't a phase. Sophia was real vibrant. Unapologetic Sophia Reyes, 28. With auburn waves that tumbled like autumn leaves and green eyes that sparkled with mischief. They'd met 6 months earlier at a queer poetry slam in Akron, where Layla, on a rare night off from her barista gig, had recited a piece about loving in the shadows. Sophia had been in the front row, her laugh cutting through the dim cafe like sunlight, and afterward, she'd slipped Layla a napkin with her number scrawled in bold ink, for the girl who writes like she's on fire. "Let's burn together." From that night on, it had been stolen weekends in Sophia's tiny apartment overlooking the Cuyahoga River, lazy mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender and coffee, whispered promises under the glow of string lights. Sophia, a graphic designer with a freelance hustle that kept her traveling between Columbus and Pittsburgh, had a way of making Layla feel seen, not shamed. "You're not broken, mi amor," she'd murmur, tracing the curve of Layla's hip with callous fingers from years of sketching. "You're a goddamn masterpiece. But masterpieces don't survive in Harper houses." After the supper bomb dropped, the text started, "Repent or you're dead to us." Harlan called once, his voice gravelly with rage. "I didn't raise no dyke." "Don't show your face here again, Jake." Ever the coward sent a single emoji, a rainbow flag with a red X through it. Ruth left voicemails, her tone laced with that fake piety. "Pray, baby. Just pray. God can fix this." Layla packed her duffel that night, tears blurring the faded band posters on her childhood walls. She texted Sophia, "It's over. Can I come to you?" Sophia's reply was instant, doors open, hearts wider. But pride, or maybe just bone-deep exhaustion, kept Layla from fleeing to the city. Instead, she drove the 2 miles to Grandma Eleanor's cottage on the edge of town, the one with the sagging wraparound porch and wild rose bushes that bloomed defiant against the frost. Eleanor Harper was 82, a slip of a woman with silver hair bobbed sharp at her chin and blue eyes that twinkled like she'd seen every secret the world tried to hide. Widowed since Grandpa died in '98, she'd outlived 2 husbands, 3 miscarriages, and a lifetime of small-town gossip for daring to wear pants to church in the '60s. When Layla's truck rattled up the gravel drive, Eleanor was on the porch swing, shelling peas into a tin bowl, her floral housecoat fluttering in the breeze. "Figured you'd show up sooner or later," she said without looking up, her voice warm as fresh cornbread. Layla collapsed onto the swing beside her, the words tumbling out in a flood, the confession, the shouts, the way her mother's Bible had thumped against the table like a gavel. Eleanor listened, popping peas with steady thumbs, until Layla trailed off into hiccuping silence. Then, she set the bowl aside and pulled Layla into a hug that smelled of talcum powder and earth. "Child," she said softly, "love ain't a sin. It's the only holy thing we got left in this broken world. Your folks, they scared. Scared of what they don't understand. But you're brave as hell. And you're home now." That first night, curled on the lumpy guest bed with quilts pieced from Eleanor's wedding dress scraps, Layla felt something shift, a crack in the armor of shame she'd worn since puberty. The next morning, over oatmeal sticky with brown sugar, Eleanor slid a key across the table. "This here's yours. Stay as long as you need. Hell, stay forever if you want. This old place could use some life." Word spread fast in Millersburg, a town where secrets traveled faster than dial-up. By Monday, Layla's shifts at the coffee shop turned awkward, customers whispering behind menus, the pastor's wife avoiding her eyes while ordering a latte. She quit after a week, the final straw being Mrs. Jenkins muttering, "Pray for her soul," loud enough for the whole line to hear. Sophia drove down that weekend, her beat-up Subaru loaded with takeout tacos and a bottle of cheap Merlot. "Introduce me properly," Sophia teased as they strolled Eleanor's backyard, fireflies winking in the dusk. Layla hesitated, then laced their fingers, her palms sweaty against Sophia's warmth. Eleanor spotted them from the kitchen window, her smile crinkling the corners of her eyes. Dinner was simple: fried chicken, collards from the garden, cornbread that flaked like gold, but it felt like a feast. Sophia charmed with stories of her abuela's ghost pepper salsa that could strip paint off a barn, and Eleanor countered with tales of bootlegging moonshine during Prohibition, her laugh a rusty bell. "You're good for her," Eleanor told Sophia later, as Layla cleared plates. "I see it in her eyes, the way they light up. Like she's finally breathing. Sophia blushed, squeezing Layla's hand under the table. For the first time in years, Layla slept without nightmares. Sophia's steady breaths a lullaby beside her. But peace in Millersburg was fragile as spun sugar. 2 months in, Jake showed up unannounced, his pickup kicking dust across Eleanor's lawn. He was drunk, eyes bloodshot, reeking of cheap whiskey. Mom and Dad are losing it. He slurred, leaning against the porch rail. They're talking lawyers, saying you're poisoning Grandma. Come home. Fix this. Layla stood firm in the doorway, arms crossed. There's nothing to fix. Jake. I'm happy. Grandma's happy. Go home to your own mess. He lunged then, grabbing her wrist hard enough to bruise. You think you're better? Parading that woman around? Dad's right, you're sick. Sophia burst from the house like a storm, wrenching his arm back. Touch her again, and I'll make sure you regret it, she growled, her voice low and fierce. Jake stumbled away, spitting curses. But the seed was planted. Whispers turned to calls. Ruth begging Eleanor to save her soul. Harlan threatening to cut off the old woman's meager pension if she harbored that abomination. Eleanor hung up on them all. But Layla saw the toll. The way her hands trembled pouring tea. The shadows under her eyes deepening like storm clouds. Fall crept in with crimson leaves and chill winds, painting the town in hues of regret. Layla and Sophia's love deepened in stolen moments. Picnics by the river where Sophia sketched Layla's profile against the current. Nights making love by candlelight in the guest room. Bodies moving like a shared prayer. I want to build a life with you, Sophia whispered one October evening, her fingers tracing Layla's collarbone. Here. Or Cleveland. Or anywhere. Just us. Layla wanted it too. More than air. But doubt gnawed. Eleanor's cough had worsened. A dry rattle that echoed in the quiet house. At the doctor's in Worcester, the diagnosis came blunt. Stage 3 lung cancer. Spread from years of chain-smoking Camels. 6 months. Maybe 9, the oncologist said. His voice clinical as a scalpel. Eleanor took it with her trademark grit, waving off Layla's tears. I've had a good run, kiddo. 82 years of raising hell. Now it's your turn. But privately, she confessed to Layla over weak chamomile, I wish I'd been braver sooner. Loved who I loved without apology. Promise me you'll do that for both of us. The family descended like vultures as winter bit down, snow blanketing the fields in indifferent white. Harlan and Ruth arrived with casseroles and Bibles, Jake trailing with hangdog eyes. They filled the living room with platitudes. Miracles happen, Ruth cooed, ignoring Sophia's stiff presence in the corner, and veiled barbs. Layla. Maybe this is God's way of bringing you back to us. Sophia endured it for Layla's sake. But tension simmered. One night, after Harlan prayed loudly over dinner, Lord, heal this house of its afflictions, Sophia snapped. Afflictions? You mean your daughter? The one you threw out like trash? The room froze. Harlan's face twisted. This is family business. Girl. But out. It's my business too, Sophia shot back, standing tall. Because I love her. More than you ever did, Ruth gasped, clutching her pearls. Jake muttered something ugly under his breath. Eleanor, pale but fierce from her armchair, rapped her cane on the floor. Enough. This is my house. Layla stays. Sophia stays. You want to pray? Pray for grace. Not grudges. They left in a huff. Tires spinning slush. But the rift widened. Layla felt it like a fracture in her bones, love pulling her one way, blood the other. Sophia held her through the nights, whispering, "We're enough. You and me and that Spitfire grandma, we're a family." Spring thawed the ground but not the hearts. Eleanor's decline accelerated. Hospice nurses came daily, their murmurs a grim soundtrack. Layla quit dreaming of escape, anchoring herself to the cottage, to Sophia's unwavering hand. In April, under a sky bruised with thunder, Eleanor called them both to her bedside. "I got something to say," she rasped, her voice a thread. She pressed a worn envelope into Layla's palm, yellowed, sealed with wax. "My will. Lawyers got the real one. But this is the truth. Don't open till I'm gone. And Layla, forgive them. Not for them, for you. Love wins. Baby girl. Always." She slipped away at dawn 2 days later. The room filled with the scent of roses from the garden she planted decades ago. Layla wailed until her throat burned, Sophia cradling her like fragile glass. The funeral was a farce, Harlan droning psalms at the graveside, Ruth dabbing crocodile tears, Jake fidgeting with his tie. Sophia stood sentinel, her arm around Layla, a rainbow pin glinting defiantly on her lapel. Back at the house, as rain pelted the roof like accusations, the family gathered for the reading. Mr. Wilkins, the town lawyer with a comb-over and wire-rimmed glasses, cleared his throat amid the antique clock's relentless tick. "Eleanor Harper's last will and testament," he began, unfolding crisp pages. The room hushed, Harlan leaning forward, Ruth clasping her hands, Jake cracking his knuckles. "To my son Harlan and daughter-in-law Ruth, I leave the family farm plot on Route 39, provided they honor the Harper name by opening it to community use. No more hoarding grudges." Murmurs rippled. Harlan's jaw tightened. "To my grandson Jacob, the silver pocket watch from his great-grandpa. May it remind him time's too short for regrets." Jake nodded, eyes down. "And to my granddaughter Layla Grace Harper." Wilkins paused, adjusting his glasses. "I leave the Victorian house on Elm Street, the cottage here, and the entirety of my savings, $247,000, to be used as she sees fit. With one condition, that she never let fear dictate her heart." Eleanor wrote, "Layla's the keeper of our light. Let her shine." The room erupted. Ruth's cry was a keening wail. "This is madness. She's influenced you." Harlan surged to his feet, face thunderous. "That money's for family, not her lifestyle." Sophia stepped forward, voice steel. "Sit down, Mr. Harper. Your mother's words are clear, but Jake crossed a line then, his face twisting in betrayal's ugly mask. "You think this is fair? After what you've done to us, parading your perversion in Mom's face." He snatched the will from Wilkins' desk, crumpling it. "We'll contest this. She's not getting a dime." Layla's world tilted, the betrayal a knife to the gut. Her own brother, the one she'd bandaged knees for his kids, the one who'd shared midnight confessions under the stars, selling her out for inheritance dust. "Jake," she whispered, voice breaking. "How could you?" The storm outside mirrored the one in Eleanor's living room, thunder rumbling like distant artillery as lightning forked across the sky. illuminating the faces twisted in fury and grief. Layla stood frozen, the crumpled wool fluttering from Jake's fist like a wounded bird, her hazel eyes wide with the raw sting of treachery. Sophia's hand tightened on her waist, a lifeline in the chaos. But even her green gaze flickered with shock. Jake? The bumbling brother Layla had described with exasperated affection. Now a stranger wielding betrayal like a blunt instrument. Contest it, Harlan barked, seizing on Jake's words like a dog with a bone. Damn right we will. Mom was senile at the end. Hospice drugs. That witch's spells. He jabbed a thick finger at Sophia, who flinched but held her ground. Her auburn hair plastered from the dash inside, freckles stark against paling skin. Ruth sobbed into her handkerchief, mascara rivers down her cheeks. Eleanor wouldn't do this to us. To family. It's that influence. Her voice dripped venom, eyes darting to Layla as if she were a stain on the floral wallpaper. Mr. Wilkins cleared his throat again. Frail authority in a room of tempests. Now, folks, the will's ironclad. Witnesses. Notarized. Contesting won't save it. Wilkins, Harlan snarled, towering over the desk. We're Harpers. We fight for what's ours. He turned to Layla, his mechanic's hands clenching into fists that had once tossed her into hay bales with rough laughter. You happy now? Poisoned her against us. Turned her into this. Layla's chest heaved, words clawing up her throat like thorns. Poisoned? I was the one you threw away. Dad. Like garbage. Grandma saw me, really saw me. And you? You saw dollar signs. Her voice cracked on the last word. But she straightened, drawing strength from Sophia's quiet nod, from the ghost of Eleanor's cane-wrapping command. Jake laughed, a bitter bark that echoed off the rafters. Saw you? She pitied you. Lay. The family freak. And now you're robbing us blind? For what? Your little face. He gestured wildly at Sophia, who stepped forward, her athletic frame coiled like a spring. Call it what it is. Jake, Sophia said, her Columbus accent sharpening edges. Love. The kind you wouldn't know. Chasing skirts and regrets. Her eyes blazed. Protective fire for the woman trembling in her arms. The slap came from nowhere, Ruth's hand cracking across Sophia's cheek, the sound sharper than the thunder. Don't you dare speak to my son like that. You Jezebel. Time fractured. Sophia reeled, hand to her reddening face. But Layla exploded forward, shoving Ruth back with a force born of years suppressed. Don't touch her. Got. Mom, don't. Ruth stumbled into Harlan, who caught her with a roar, lunging at Layla. Enough, Wilkins shouted. But it was Eleanor's ghost that intervened. The antique clock chimed 9, deep and mournful, freezing them all in tableau, rain lashing windows like judgment, shadows dancing wild. Sophia recovered first, pulling Layla back gently. We're done here. Layla. Let's go. Her voice was calm, but her eyes, those green depths, held a storm of their own, promising retribution later. In whispers and touches. They fled to the guest room upstairs, the door clicking shut like a vow. Layla collapsed onto the bed, sobs racking her frame as Sophia gathered her close, murmuring Spanish endearments into her curls. They don't deserve you. Amor. None of them. Downstairs, voices rose and fell, Harlan's bellows, Ruth's wails. Jake's sly agreements plotting legal wars. Sleep came fitful, haunted by Eleanor's envelope, still sealed in Layla's pocket. Dawn broke gray and sodden, the family gone by morning, their pickup's taillights vanishing into mist. Wilkins left quietly, advising Layla to lawyer up. They'll push. But Eleanor's mind was sharp as a tack to the end. Alone with Sophia, Layla finally tore open the envelope, hands shaking. Inside, Eleanor's looping script filled 2 pages, yellowed but fervent. My dearest Layla, if you're reading this, I'm dust in the wind, probably gossiping with the angels about that time I outran the sheriff in 42. But you, child, you're the spark I never had the guts for. I knew. You see. About you. From the way you watched that neighbor girl swing on the tire back in '08. Eyes all soft and wondering. I knew. And I ached that I couldn't shield you sooner from their smallness. Your folks. They're products of their fears. Same as I was once. Harlan. My boy, he came out fighting. Fists first. Because that's how his daddy taught him to love. Ruth clings to God like a raft in the flood, scared of drowning in her own doubts. Jake? He's lost, chasing shadows of what he thinks a man should be. Forgive them. Not because they deserve it, but because holding hate is like drinking poison and waiting for them to die. Let it go. Live free. The will's real. Every penny. Use it to build a home, a life, art that screams your truth. And Sophia? That girl's a keeper. Love her fierce. Like the world's ending tomorrow. Because it might be. One last secret. Under the rosebush by the porch. Dig. I buried my own heart there once. A locket from Josie. The girl who made mine race in 51. We couldn't say it then. But we knew. She was my Sophia. Carry it for us both. Shine on. Baby girl. Grandma loves you eternal. Tears blurred the ink as Layla read aloud. Sophia's arms tightening around her. Josie, Sophia breathed. Wonder softening the bruise blooming on her cheek. She was gay, Layla whispered. A revelation cracking open the world. Like me. Like us. They slipped outside then. Rain-muddied knees as Layla dug with a trowel from the shed. The locket emerged tarnished but whole, oval silver. Holding twin photos, young Eleanor. Bob haircut and sly grin. Beside a dark-haired woman with bold eyes. Arms linked defiant. Sophia fastened it around Layla's neck. Her touch reverent. Now you're carrying 4 hearts. They kissed under the dripping roses. Slow and deep. The world narrowing to lips and breath and the promise of tomorrow. But tomorrow brought war. Harlan filed the contest that week. Claiming undue influence. Incapacity. Every legal arrow aimed at Layla's throat. Ruth called daily. Her voicemail's a litany of guilt. Think of what this does to us. Layla. To family. Jake. The traitor. Avoided her eyes at the one awkward grocery run. But his text to Harlan leaked through town channels. She's got Sophia brainwashing her. We take it all. Layla hired a Columbus firm with Eleanor's savings seed money. Steeling herself for battle. Sophia rallied. Designing protest posters for local queer events. Harper Legacy. Love over legacy. Plastering Millersburg with subtle rebellion. Nights blurred into strategy sessions on the porch swing. Fireflies witnesses to their unbreakable bond. We'll win, Sophia vowed. Her fingers interlacing with Layla's. And if not the money, we win us, Summer sweltered on. Court dates looming like thunderheads. Layla poured grief into canvas, oils of fractured families. Lovers entwined against storm skies, selling enough at Akron galleries to fund the fight. Sophia's freelance boomed. Her designs infused with Layla's fire. Bold lines. Unapologetic colors. They dreamed aloud of a life beyond Ohio, a loft in Cleveland. Maybe, with a studio for Layla's art. A garden echoing Eleanor's. Yet doubt crept in whispers. One muggy August night, after a brutal deposition where Harlan's lawyer grilled her on lifestyle choices, Layla shattered. What if they win? What if I lose everything? Grandma's house. Her memory. Sophia pulled her into the hammock. Body swaying gentle. You won't lose me. That's everything. Her kiss was salt and solace. Hands mapping paths of reassurance until dawn painted them gold. The betrayal deepened when Jake cornered Layla at the county fair. Cotton candy air thick with fried dough and regret. He was sober. Almost. Eyes hollow. Lay. Call it off. Dad's gonna bankrupt us all fighting this. She whirled. Locket heavy against her chest. Us? You sold me out. Jake. For what? A bigger slice of hate. He flinched, rubbing his neck. It's not. I didn't mean. Mom's on pills. Dad's drinking again. This'll kill them. Good, she spat. The word venomous. Maybe it'll wake them up. She walked away, heart splintering anew. The midway lights blurring through tears. Fall leaves turned the courtroom in Worcester a cathedral of judgment, polished wood benches. The judge a stern woman with silver streaks and no-nonsense glasses. Harlan's side paraded witnesses, the pastor swearing Eleanor wasn't herself, Ruth tearfully recounting family values shattered. Jake testified last. Voice cracking. She was my sister. But this. It's tearing us apart. Layla's turn came like a confessional. She took the stand in a simple black dress, locket gleaming, and spoke truth bare. The rejection. The porch exile. Eleanor's embrace. She wasn't influenced. She chose me. Because love isn't a contest, it's a gift. Sophia watched from the gallery, pride fierce in her gaze. The judge ruled in October. Gavel falling like grace. Will upheld. No contest. Harlan slumped. Ruth wailed. Jake stared at his shoes. Victory tasted bittersweet, hollow without Eleanor's cackle. Outside, under crisp skies, Sophia swept Layla into a spin. We did it. Mi artista. Their kiss was triumphant. Laughter bubbling free. But as they drove home, Layla spotted Jake by his truck. Alone. She pulled over. Window down. It didn't have to be this way. He met her eyes. Broken. I know. I'm sorry. Lay. For everything. Forgive yourself first, she said softly. Eleanor's words her armor. Then she drove on, leaving him to the wind. Winter settled gentle that year. Snow soft on the cottage roof. Layla and Sophia renovated slowly. The guest room became a studio. Walls splashed with canvases of queer saints and resilient roots. Eleanor's roses bloomed defiant under holiday lights. The locket a talisman at Layla's throat. Christmas Eve. They hosted a small feast. Just them. Plus a few Akron friends who'd become chosen family. Laughter filled the house. Mulled wine warming cheeks. As midnight tolled, Sophia knelt by the tree. Ring box in hand. A simple gold band etched with roses. Marry me. Layla Harper. Let's make this official, our legacy. Our light. Tears welled. Joy sharp as stars. Yes, Layla breathed, pulling her up into forever. But peace fractured again in the new year. A letter arrived in January. Postmarked from Ruth, we were wrong. Can we talk? Attached. A photo old. Faded. Of young Ruth and a sorority sister. Arms linked. Eyes adoring. The envelope trembled in Layla's fingers as she sat at Eleanor's scarred kitchen table. The January wind howling outside like a penitent ghost. Sophia hovered nearby. Her green eyes watchful. A mug of chamomile steaming forgotten in her hands. The photo inside was a time capsule. 1970s Ruth. 20-something and radiant. Bell-bottoms hugging her hips. Arms slung around a brunette with a peace sign necklace and a smile that mirrored Sophia's own bold. Unshielded. On the back, in Ruth's careful script, her name was Clara. We loved fierce. Once. Lost her to the world's smallness. Don't lose yours to mine. Forgive me? Layla's breath hitched. The locket at her throat suddenly heavier with layered secrets. Mom. She knew. The word hung. Fragile as frost on the window pane. Sophia knelt beside her. Auburn waves brushing Layla's shoulder. Knew what it's like to hide. To hurt the ones you love most because you're scared. Her voice was soft, laced with the empathy of someone who'd walked similar shadows, coming out to a Catholic family in rural Pennsylvania. Bridges burned but rebuilt in embers. The invitation followed. Tea at the Old Victorian on Elm. Neutral ground. Harlan and Jake would be absent. Your father's still raw, Ruth wrote. But healing. Layla hesitated. Old wounds itching like poorly stitched scars. Sophia squeezed her hand. Go if you want. I'll be right here or there. If you need backup. Layla chose alone. Arriving at dusk with a tin of Eleanor's thumbprint cookies. The house looming like a half-remembered dream. Ruth answered the door. Diminished, hair grayer. Eyeshadowed. The sharp edges softened by regret's grind. Layla, she whispered. Voice cracking. No embrace. But a tentative step aside. The kitchen smelled of lemon polish and memory. The same oak table where supper had detonated months ago. They sat awkward. Cookies untouched. Steam curling from floral teacups. Ruth's hands twisted a napkin. Knuckles white. I owe you everything. And nothing. The will. The fight, your father and Jake. They pushed. I let them. Because facing it meant facing me. Layla sipped, scalding her tongue. Waiting. The photo lay between them. A bridge or a bomb? Clara, Ruth continued. Eyes distant. Summer 72. Sorority rush. She was fire protests. Poetry slams. We snuck kisses in the stacks. Dreamed of San Francisco. But Daddy found out. Called her a devil. Me a disappointment.
Ichaud silence.
Safety. Married your father a year later. Buried her in a box labeled youthful mistake. Tears track slow. When you came out. It was like God handing me a mirror. And I shattered it. The confession poured then. Ruth's hidden letters to Clara. Burned in shame. The therapy she'd started post-ruling. Unraveling decades of repression. Harlan's gruff admissions over late-night whiskeys. Jake's AA meetings where he'd named his betrayals. We're trying. Layla. Not perfect. But trying. Layla's throat tightened. Eleanor's words echoing. Forgive for you. It hurt. Mom. Deep. But I see you now. The woman who loved once. Fierce. She slid the photo back. Keep it. Remember her with me. Ruth's sob broke free. And for the first time, she reached tentative, then sure across the table. Layla met her halfway. The hug bony and brief, but real. Seeds in cracked soil. Spring unfurled tentative. Dogwoods blushing pink against Ohio's awakening green. Layla and Sophia's wedding planning wove through it like wild vines simple. Millersburg courthouse affair. Then a reception in Eleanor's garden. Invites went broad. Akron allies. Columbus creatives. And yes, family. Ruth RSVP'd yes. Harlan a grudging maybe. Jake with his new girlfriend. A quiet librarian who'd steadied his storms. The ceremony was sun-dappled magic. Layla in a flowing white sundress. Curls crowned with rosebuds. Locket gleaming. Sophia in tailored linen. Freckles kissed by light. Vowing till the stars burn out. Rings exchanged under the oak where Eleanor had swung them as kids. Vows laced with laughter and tears. Ruth sat front row, clutching a handkerchief. Harlan beside her, stone still but present. His nod at the end. Slight but seismic. The reception hummed with life. Picnic tables groaning under potlucks. Sophia's abuela's tamales. Eleanor's cornbread recipe revived. Vegan salads from queer friends. Jake approached Layla during the first dance. A slow sway to Nina Simone crooning, feeling good. You look happy. Sis. Deserve it. His hug was awkward. Genuine. I'm proud. Late. But real. Harlan lingered at the edges, nursing a beer. Until Ruth nudged him forward. Layla, he rumbled. Voice gravel. I messed up. Bad. Won't ask forgiveness tonight. Just glad you're home. He extended a calloused hand, she took it, pulling him into the circle instead. As dusk deepened, fireflies rising like liberated souls, Layla and Sophia slipped away to the porch swing. The locket swung gentle between them, for hearts beating as one. We made it, Sophia murmured, head on Layla's shoulder. Not just survived, Layla replied, kissing her temple. Thrived. Below. Laughter mingled, Ruth sharing Clara stories with wide-eyed nieces. Harlan grilling Jake on amends. The garden a tapestry of mended threads. Years wove on. The cottage a haven. Layla's art bloomed, galleries in Cleveland. A book of queer Ohio tales illustrated with Eleanor's ghost. Sophia's designs funded scholarships for young artists like them. Fierce and unseen. Children came later. Adopted. A boy with Layla's curls. A girl with Sophia's spark. Raised on stories of grandmas who loved beyond labels. Ruth visited Sundays. Her Bible now annotated with grace notes. Harlan fixed the truck without charge. Gruff jokes masking mended pride. Jake sobered steady. Uncle extraordinaire. Betrayals faded to footnotes. The will's true legacy, not land or cash, but liberation, the courage to claim one's light. Unashamed. In quiet moments, Layla would dig out the locket, tracing faces, Eleanor and Josie, Ruth and Clara, her and Sophia. Echoes of women who loved in shadows, now stepping into sun. Ohio's fields stretched endless, but home was here, in hearts kept whole, wills unbroken. And in the rosebushes' defiant bloom, Eleanor whispered still, shine on.